Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here from TGI Sports Talks College Sports Huddle. I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. It's been a beautiful week here so far. Lots of golf, lots of fun over the Memorial Day weekend. We hope you had it. We hope you sent out some thoughts where they belong to be on that weekend. We got some college stuff to talk about. We're going to wing it a little bit because my granddaughter walked off with my notes. So we're going to kind of wing it a little bit. I can't believe she took off with my pad of notes, but she did when I was getting ready for the Unprofessional Professional Sports Show. So we'll start it off with opening and welcome everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We want to thank the groups that allow us to share this show and all my shows. You see our favorites scrolling across the bottom of the screen, but there's dozens and dozens and dozens that allow me to do that. And we thank them specifically tonight, the Sports Authorities and John Gonzalez, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, Flo and Can at Bottom Line Sports, Let's Talk Sports. Who else? Ken Krause over at Golf Bud, Sports of All Sorts. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some good stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland. Pittsburgh Focus, National Footprint, specifically the Sports Corner from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday with Smoke and Jim Frazier. Check that out. No, it sounds like they're out on the back deck. Anyway, we're going to talk some college football as we've got some playoff college football playoff stuff to talk about, power struggles between the Big Ten and the SEC. Kirby Smart talking about, maybe I'm sorry, Kirby, maybe you should get your players into a driver's ed class before you start talking about we should break off and just do our own thing, have our own rules, play our own championships, because ESPN and fans are going to love to show just the SEC's 16 teams play, 12-game schedule, and then have your own college football playoff. That'll be fun. And what are you going to do with all your other sports? Because while not everybody wants you to break away, obviously, because of the money involved, some ADs have said, feel free to leave to the SEC and the Big Ten if you want to break away, but make sure you understand you're taking all your sports with you, not just football and basketball, but you're taking softball and you're taking all of those teams with you, all the things with you. So we can talk a little bit about that. We can talk about anything you guys want, by the way. We'll talk some of the college baseball news. The field is set, and we'll go through the regions for you. The women's have gotten down to the finals in the World Series, softball World Series. UCLA in prime position to win double championships this year in baseball and softball, so that could be very interesting. We can talk about Brandon Sorsby. The NCAA has denied his petition to be reinstated. He's been ruled permanently ineligible. Texas Tech is appealing that. He's got a decision to make by June 22nd, I believe. I thought it was June 30th, but I believe I saw today it was June 22nd about whether he wants to enter the NFL supplemental draft, and whether, and after that, it's up to the NFL whether they want to allow him in to that draft. And then whether somebody takes him or not. I guess there's some, let's see, is there some news other than that? I'm sure I had other stuff on that. We'll look through my little cheat sheets here. We'll figure something out. But we'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about as well. Who's with us right now? Right now, Carlton's with us. Hello, Carlton. How are you, my friend? Good to have you with us for from the aforementioned Bottom Line Sports podcast. Can and Flo do a great job. OKC's going to win it. NBA basketball we're talking about there, not college. I don't think. We'll see. I hope you get to the finals. Because I think they're the best team in the West, and I want the Knicks to beat the best team in the West. So it won't be easy. It'll be fun. We'll talk more about that, Ken. If they get, I might have to have you on or pop into Bottom Line Sports and talk about that if that becomes the final. Hello, Danny. Good to have you with us. I just mentioned, Danny, that we'll look in a little while at the softball and the NCAA baseball matchups. And UCLA's in prime position to potentially have a double championship. Both those teams playing very well, highly ranked. Obviously, UCLA's the number one seed in baseball, and the softball team's not that far behind there. So good job there, and that's a big story to watch for there. And there's Danny's Let's Go UCLA. Bruins playing good. Won their first ever Big Ten championship in baseball. I don't know if they won the league championship in softball or not. Danny can fill me in on that. But kudos to them. I want to start off quickly with there's a power play right now going on in college football. There always is, right? Is there any time there isn't a power play going on? And I think the Big Ten might have the upper hand now. The SEC, they won, 3 of the last 4, or Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana. They won the last 3 football championships. The SEC is still powerful, don't get me wrong, right? Because them and the Big Ten are going to make decisions on, however the college football playoff looks going forward. They're going to have to get on the same page. Right now, they can't. And maybe I should say Fox and ESPN, because that's the power behind the power. They got the money. And right now, the Big Ten is all behind a 2014 playoff, which I'm not. And a lot of fans aren't. A lot of fans want 16. The Big Ten is 100% against a 16-team playoff. They want to stay at 12 or they want to go to 24. And the SEC is kind of split. Right now, the Sankey, the commissioner, is saying no, they are not interested in a 2014 playoff, at least not yet. They want to go to 16, and then we'll consider 24 down the line. But the coaches are not all on the same page here. Some of them are for 24, some are for 16, some are for staying where they are. Where the Big Ten at least is showing a united front. And I'm not saying I want a 2014 playoff, by the way, but their coaches are all behind the universities and saying, we want 24. Well, sure they do. And here's the thing. I saw some stuff in an article where, college football still, even they went to a 2014 playoff, it's still like only 18% of the teams make the playoffs. So it's 138 teams, I think. You can check the math. I think it's 18%. But and compared to say 50% of the NBA and the NHL make the playoffs, and 40% of teams in Major League Baseball. I'm not for any of that either, by the way, just to be clear. That's too many teams. You play a whole regular season, eliminate half of them, that's it. So I'm not for that. But let's be realistic. It's not 18%, because 23 of those 24 teams most years are going to be from the power conferences. You're going to have one team outside of the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC. That's where 23 of the 24 teams are going to come almost every single year. There'll be aberrations. And if you want to know the biggest reason not to have, let me see this comment before I do this. Nebraska was rewarded with the Big Ten softball championship. You explain that to me, Danny. While I finish this up. One of the biggest things, I guess the biggest piece of evidence I could give you about why we shouldn't have 24 teams. North Carolina State is the last. I want to say so. Since we went to the 14 playoff, So it's, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know how long it's been. I'm not good with math. Maybe it's been less than that. It's been 10 years since we went to the 4. In any event, in whatever time span we're talking about, they're like 51 and 55 in the ACC. Well, since the invent of the 14 playoff, if there was 24 teams going back that far, they would have made it 5 times. 5 times. They finished in the top 20 once. They would have made it 5 times. And there's an argument that the 24-team playoff would would give coaches more job security. Is that right? I think it's the opposite, by the way. I think it would become more pressure because when 23 out of 24 teams are going to come from those power conferences, the NCAA coach probably, or the NC State coach would have got fired because he didn't make it. He wouldn't have made the playoffs the last 2 years, right? Now, if you don't make the playoff because there's not going to be conference championships and the regular season will become, less important. If you don't win, if you don't make it to the playoff in 2 or 3 years, you're going to get fired. Because 80 different teams would have made it, by the way. Again, most of those 68 or 70 of them were power conference teams. You had your, group of 5 or 6, however you want to parse that out, winner every year. And I think 1 year you would have had an extra group of 6 team. So I think pressure becomes greater on coaches. And I'm so tired of the Kirby Smarts of the world. Really, Kirby, you think if let's just say the SEC went away and went and did their own thing. There's going to be people watching the rest of the league, or rest of the leagues, and you're going to falter. You're going to ruin. Football might survive somehow. Yeah, they probably expand more. They, buy, if you want to call it that, buy more teams to come to the SEC. But how are you going to support all of those sports programs when you've got 16 or 20 teams in their conference? How? There's not going to be any interest in those programs. And there'll be plenty of interest on the other side. If the Big Ten were to stay with the other 3 or the other 2 and the rest of the conferences, the NCAA football would survive. They're never going anywhere, not on their own. The Big Ten and the SEC are not going out on their own ever. Now, when I say never, that doesn't mean if they were to, cherry pick the Clemson's, the Miamis, the Florida States, the Texas Techs, whoever you want to talk about. Then they might go off on their own with 48 teams. But they'd have to do a lot of cherry picking, obviously. I mean, and I'm not here to say that the 2014 playoff wouldn't help some programs, by the way, and some programs that aren't looked at as blue blood or elites, but they still be in power conferences, except for now and again. But the Oklahoma States of the world, the Utahs of the world, neither of who's made a playoff. If I'm not mistaken, unless Utah made it. Yeah, they make it 2 years ago. This is our first year, or this is our second year with 12 teams, right? Yeah, I don't think Utah made it the first year. In any event, with 24 teams, they would have made it like 8 times. Oklahoma State would have made it 5 times. Those are not negatives necessarily. But again, it's just the better teams in the SECs and the Big 12s and I guess the Big 12 and the ACC would probably make out. But the NC State number I gave you is just nuts. 5 times they'd have been in that 2014 field when they finished. They've been under. They're 4 games under 500 in their conference over the time that we're talking about. Hello, Brian. Go Texas women's college. College softball. I get it. Talking into his phone, Nebraska won the regular season with only 1 loss as well. I get you. Big Ten tournament over UCLA, and they're both on the same side of the bracket in the final 8. That is ridiculous. How do they do that? That's kind of nuts. We're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at that here in a little bit. No, I'm not. Listen, here's the thing. If we had 24 teams, again, there's positives in a way. I mean, I think Oklahoma State had some great teams. Well, Oklahoma didn't a lot of years. Oklahoma State had some great teams. Utah had some great teams. How would the legacies, which aren't terrible, by the way, of Mike Gundy and Kyle Whittingham, look if they'd made the tournament, the playoff, 8 times for Utah, 5 times for Oklahoma State? I'm not disparaging those teams, I promise you. I'm more likely to disparage Oklahoma itself than Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State over the last 15 years has been a better football program overall. They are right now, obviously, and they haven't been the last few years. But I think I can make an argument over the last maybe not 10 or 15 years. I got to go back and look at the numbers. I'm sure I can take a huge chunk of time and say that Oklahoma State was a better football program than Oklahoma. I'm sure Alan would disagree with that, which is his right. Let me pivot a little bit. And I think we're only going to go to about 8 o'clock or so tonight. Because my wife is stuck with our 2 young granddaughters right now. I haven't heard any screaming, so things should be okay. Although my granddaughter did walk off out of my office with my notes for tonight. So, oh my God. Let's take a quick look at I want to look at the college. So how do I get to the, well, let's just look. We'll look at the first couple of, maybe if I go here. I want to get to the women's. How do I get to the women's? Here we go. Softball. I want to look at the bracket. So here we go. Here's what we have left in college. College softball. It is the College World Series in Oklahoma City, just like the men. And we have, how many teams we have left? 8 teams left. Double elimination. Nobody has any losses. First bracket is Texas, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Texas Tech. Bracket 2, Alabama, Nebraska, UCLA, and Arkansas. Well, they have no losses because they haven't played yet. They play tomorrow night. The scoreboard looks like this starting tomorrow. Games are all on ESPN if you're interested. You got Mississippi State against Texas Tech. Remember, we're in a double elimination on each side of this bracket. Tennessee against Texas at 2:30. That first game was at noon. UCLA. I'm rooting for your Bruins for a double championship, Danny. UCLA played number 1 Alabama. The 8th-seeded Bruins. Arkansas will play Nebraska at 9:30. Friday, and then we got games to be determined after that, right? Because we got all the teams playing tomorrow, and then the matchups get determined after the first round. So, listen, it's going to be very interesting. Yes, it does start tomorrow, as we just kind of reviewed. Thank you, Danny. Listen, I've gotten a little more into the college softball the last few years than I had been in the past, and it's really good I think it's a great viewing experience. These girls are really good. Women, young women, are really good. Just please don't write me letters over the girls. Young women are very good. Fun to watch. On the men's side, where am I? All right, let's look at the men's now. Yeah, we can talk about college softball you want. I'm rooting for UCLA. Alabama's going to be very tough. Both Oklahoma teams are out, right? Oklahoma State, they've been very good the last few years. Out. And the men's side, in the Athens Regional, these games will start on Friday. You got Georgia against LIU, Long Island University, in the house. Only 30-20, by the way. That game's at 7 o'clock. There's a game before that, actually. It's going to be Liberty against Boston College. And then those games, the losers, I believe, will play in game 3 and blah, 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 so and so. If I say anything wrong here, please correct me because I don't have all the formula in front of me. I think the winners play each other and then the losers play each other, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia Tech, this is the Atlanta Regional. And put your comments up, we'll get to you. AC, I see it there. Hello. Georgia Tech will play UIC. What you said? Quite frankly, off the top of my head, I don't know who that is. I had it in my notes, and I don't remember. Only 27-1 out of the ACCN. I apologize for not knowing who that is. But the other game in that first round of games will be the Citadel and Oklahoma. I think listen, Georgia's really good. I think Georgia's probably going to come out of that Athens Regional, right? I like Georgia Tech a lot, but I think Oklahoma is going to have a shot at coming out of that regional, quite frankly. The Auburn Regional, Auburn will be playing Milwaukee. Milwaukee in with a losing record of 25-31. UCF will play NC State in the first round. I gotta like Auburn to come out of this regional. In the Austin Regional, you got number 1 Texas against Holy Cross, another team with a losing record. Tarleton State, a bit of a surprise this year in the world of college baseball, will play UC Santa Barbara. And Brian's already got Texas. Go Texas. Oh, he's heading to softball. Texas, I guess, is in position for a double national championship as well, right? Probably a couple teams in here are. I think Texas comes out of this. And when I think of Texas, I say it all the time when we talk about college baseball on this show. I think of Augie Garrido. And again, if you have not watched the special on Augie Garrido's life, which focused mostly on his baseball career, he won national champions at Cal State Fullerton, went to Texas, won national championships there, and he's one of the great motivators I've ever seen in a sports coach or manager. Unbelievable. And man, he had some places where he lost his mind. But every time he lost his mind, he brought it around to how he may have failed and how he needed to do better for the kids. But they need to do better for themselves, too. I've played a couple of them, one of his more expletive-filled ones. I played a lot, but I came across another one the other day that I'd forgotten about from the documentary, and I got to play it one day. But the late Augie Garrido, great coach, and one of the great coaches in college sports history, in my mind, in general, in sports. And Chapel Hill, we got North Carolina is the number 1 seed. They'll play VCU. East Carolina will play Tennessee. I'm going to take an upset here. I'm going to take Tennessee to come out of this region and beat the Tar Heels probably in the final. analysis there. And the College Station Regional, number 1 Texas A&M against number 4 Lamar. Texas State will play Southern Cal. I'm going to take Southern Cal here as kind of a sentimental favorite. I've talked a lot, as we've talked about college baseball the last few weeks, about the fact that USC and Arizona State being relevant again, I think is good for college baseball, and we'll see if they can make that stand up. But I'll take Southern Cal to come out of this region. In the Eugene Regional, you got Oregon against Yale. 30-13 Yale is. Washington State will play Oregon State. It's hard not to take Oregon. If I was going to take an upset special, though, Oregon State would not be bad. In the Gainesville Regional, you got Florida against Rider. You got Troy against Miami of Florida. I'm going to take the U to come out of this. They've had their time in the spotlight in college baseball, by the way. And in Hattiesburg, which I didn't know they played baseball in Hattie, so I'm just kidding. Southern Miss will play Little Rock. Jacksonville will play Virginia. And I'm going to take Southern Miss to come out of that region. In the Lawrence Regional, you've got Kansas against Northeastern, Missouri State against Arkansas. I like Arkansas to come out of this region with the 2 seed. Kansas will be tough at home, but we'll take the number 2 seed. Nebraska in the Lincoln Regional. Nebraska, the number 1 seed, will play South Dakota. Arizona State will play Ole Miss. And I'm going to do it again. For nostalgia reasons, I will take Arizona State to upset Nebraska at some point in this tournament and come away with a trip to Oklahoma City. And we got 2 more regions, I think. Los Angeles Regional, you got UCLA, 51-8. Sorry, 51-6. I got to get my eyes checked. Against St. Mary's. Cal Poly against Virginia Tech. I'm all over Danny's UCLA Bruins. I want to see UCLA play USC somewhere in Oklahoma City. And then I'll be rooting for your Bruins. I'll put my nostalgia aside, Danny. And the Morgantown Regional, we've still got a couple more here. West Virginia will play Binghamton up here in Western New York. Kentucky will play Wake Forest, and I'm going to take Wake Forest to come out of that region. Starksville region, Mississippi State against Lipscomb. And Cincinnati against Louisiana Tech. And Louisiana. I'm going to take Louisiana to come out of this region. Mississippi State's really good, though. Tallahassee Regional, Florida State against St. John's. NIU against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina has become a bit of a baseball power the last couple of years, not winning national championships, but being relevant. They had a bad end to the season. I'm going to pick Coastal Carolina to get it back together. Tuscaloosa Regional, Alabama against Alabama State. USC Upstate, that's South Carolina Upstate, against Oklahoma State. I'm going to we'll take Alabama to come out of this region, and that's it. And we'll keep an eye on this the next couple of weeks as best we can. I might be away one Wednesday. I think I'm not going away. We're going to spend a couple of weeks up north a little bit. Got a bed and breakfast up in Schroon Lake. My wife is excited. Really quaint place. There's only 6 rooms in the whole place, and we're gonna spend a couple days in Ticonderoga. Go to the old Revolutionary Fort up there, Revolutionary War Fort, and take in a Star Trek experience and do some other stuff as well. So I think that's after this is over. And then we'll be talking about our hiatus from there, by the way. And AC, good to see you, as I said. So we talked some college football. And again, I'm working out my notes because for those who joined us late, my granddaughter was down here with me. And she left with my notes. My bad for giving her the pad to draw on. Anyway. We're going to do a short show tonight, so I don't know how long we're going to go. But if you guys got some topics, please bring them up. I've already talked. I'll go to some other news stories here, but I've talked about the expansion of the college football playoff and the loggerheads that the Big Ten and the SEC have come to on opposite sides of what they want to happen. And really, it's really Fox against. It's really Fox. When you think about it, it's Fox against ESPN in this battle. Two notables, if not more, but the two I can think of from past history not making the baseball. Good. That's a good point, Danny. I think Oregon State was in there, weren't they? Did I see Oregon State in there? But I know Vanderbilt did, and Vanderbilt's had a pretty good career as well. How about LSU? LSU's not in either. Another really good program. I'm just looking at teams that were eliminated. I think that's a softball. Let me get back to the men. Excuse me. How come I can't? Oh, here we go. Baseball. I wanted to see teams that were ranked maybe that didn't get in. Probably nobody. I mean, I don't think I missed LSU in that rankings, did I? I thought I saw Oregon State in there. No, was it? Oh, maybe it was Ole Miss I'm thinking of. That's probably Ole Miss. I thought like I said, I got to get my eyes checked. So I'm not playing good golf. No, Oregon State is in, Danny. Oregon State is the 2 seed in the Eugene Regional. They'll play Washington State in the first game. Michigan's another one. Our good friend Larry Sorensen's alma mater. LSU is a very good one for sure. Yeah. I'm trying to think of some others. I'm not getting any. You know, it's funny. We don't get a lot of East Coast. St. John's is in there, right? LIU is in here. But the East Coast does not get a lot of teams that go far. We'll get teams into the regionals, right? But they rarely go to Oklahoma City. And St. John's has had some good ball teams over the years, but never really, I don't think they've ever advanced to Oklahoma City. Seton Hall, I think, has had some good teams. We did have a powerhouse in Division II years ago, Lemoyne College up near Syracuse. Went to baseball camp there in high school. And run by the legendary Coach Rockwell. That was an experience, let me tell you. We had a lot of fun. College football. What else is going on? Brian brought up the bipartisan bill that was brought up by, I think it was Ted Cruz and who else? Maria Cantwell. But again, this is all stuff that was talked about by the commission that the president put together a couple of weeks ago. Nick Saban, one of the keys on that. A lot of big name coaches, both now and in the past, their ADs, college presidents. All this was talked about. The rules limiting transferring schools only one time without penalty. Nobody's going to argue against that, I don't think. Limiting athletic eligibility to a maximum of 5 years. That's already going to be voted on by the NCAA powers in June, according to Charlie Baker. And he wants it to take effect this year, and players would be grandfathered in if they're already there. They wouldn't be forced to leave. That would be 5 years from the time your high school graduated or you turn 19, whichever comes first. Prohibiting former professional athletes from playing in college, which is a new one. I don't think the commission came up with this one. In fact, Trump sent out an executive order basically saying this is the things he wanted to see happen. I don't think this one was on there, but you're seeing a lot of this. Not so much here in the States. We had a couple instances where there was a guy that was drafted by, I want to say Detroit, Brian. I'm not positive, but he ended up playing in the G League, never made the Pistons, went back to Baylor this year. He's now in a transfer portal, ironically enough. But there's a lot of kids that are being brought in from Europe and other places that are playing in professional leagues over there. And that's what a lot of schools, John Calipari talked about that in basketball. And again, basketball's where you're seeing. You're not seeing a lot of kids from Europe coming to play football, obviously. Kickers, punters. But in basketball, there's a ton of kids that have been recruited from Europe, Australia, and other places around the world, and they play professionally elsewhere. Again, Calipari talked about it. You know, he hasn't done any of that really. He's been recruiting American kids at least, but again, it just makes sense. You're not an amateur if you got paid to play at one point. And prohibiting schools from poaching a coach from another school during the sports season. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure how you police some of this. Obviously, it's easy to police transfers. It's easy to police the eligibility if you'd lay it down until the guys sue, right? I mean, college sports is certainly full of litigation these days. I think limiting prohibiting the professional athletes from playing in college is probably easy to police. The hardest thing to police is going to be poaching a coach from another school during the season. We've seen a lot of it. We saw Lane Kiffin this last year. I mean, is there any reason to think they didn't have conversations with Lane Kiffin long before he left? No. You know, talk for one day. It's the same thing as, you know, free agency tampering in the NFL. When 1,000 guys sign on day one, it's probably a bit of an exaggeration. There's been tampering. When the guy from the coach from West Virginia 2 years ago went to Indiana, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He spent 1 year, I think, in West Virginia. Came from Evansville. He left like the day after they were eliminated from postseason competition. I mean, you think that all of that negotiation happened in 6 hours? It's gonna be hard to police that. So anyway, this bill was also sponsored by Eric Sherman, Chris Coons. And would give the NCAA and the College Sports Commission, which is the commission we talked about the president had met with here a month or so ago, that would give them legal cover to enforce spending cap for how much each school can pay its athletes as well. The NCAA and the schools have been lobbying Congress for a new federal law since the Supreme Court ruling in 2021 made it clear that a multi-billion-dollar industry is not exempt from antitrust laws. Anytime you talk about antitrust, sports leagues, whether they're amateur or they're professional, they quake in their boots because they don't want to lose their antitrust exemptions. And that's what gets these guys' attention. Just say the word antitrust. Well, I guess is it one word? It's hyphenated. I guess it's not hyphenated. I thought it was hyphenated. It's not hyphenated in this article. Unbelievable. So the spending caps would be $20 million per school each year, which has already been talked about. Well, I guess that's on top of the pay per play, because this is NIL, right? Let me read this again. Well, it says how much they can pay their athletes. To me, that would include NIL money, but the way this reads to me is only the pay for play. which we have. And it's right now, it's like $20 million is supposed to be the cap. But teams have upped that to $50 and $60 and $70 million with NIL supplements. Cruz says it's a stability bill, not an NIL bill. I mean, I get it. But here's the thing. I don't think I want the federal government not running, but, making rulings on college sports or professional sports. Stay out of it. Because then the NCAA's got to find a way to police it. And they've never done that well anyway. Selective enforcement, they're very good at. See Michigan. See a dozen others. Hello, Jeremy. Good to have you with us. How are you tonight? Check out Jeremy's stuff. Still doing your baseball show on, I think, Saturday nights, Jeremy. And what else you got going on? Feel free to give yourself a little plug here, my friend. So anyway, there's that story. I talked about Kirby Smart hinting that the SEC could leave if they don't get their way. I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to leave. That's not going to benefit you or anybody else. That's like the stupidest plan of all plans. Now, we know, sometime in the next 10 years, maybe I live to see it, I hope. There's going to be big changes. There's going to be one big league with all the really big programs. That's not the SEC by itself with its 16 teams, or even if they poach 4 more. How about that? How about putting that in the bill, by the way? I totally get it. You want to restrict player movement. You want to restrict payroll. You want to restrict coaches from just jumping and leaving contracts and other programs poaching them. How about we also put in a rule where universities can't just decide we're going to move from the Pac-12, which has 125 years worth of exceptional history, and just blow it all up because the main schools from it have decided to forget about their athletes, forget about their fan base, forget about everything, and go grab the money. How about we put in a rule about that? Please pick that clip up, StreamYard. I'm all for all of this. But how about we stop letting schools just carpet bag wherever they want to go? Nonsense. 100% nonsense. And we're not done by any means, guys. This started, again, this is going on. I talk about it having started in like 2012 when Nebraska's moved to the Big Ten. And that did start a lot of dominoes going. And we've seen some really big upheaval, obviously, in the last 5 years. But this has been going on for decades. And I forget about it since the inception of college football. We've had leagues change. The demographics of those leagues change constantly. There was a lot of changing in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Then it was pretty solid, and it stayed pretty solid for the most part. You had a few teams, Arizona State and Arizona leaving whatever they played in. I don't remember now, to go to the Pac-8 at the time. But the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s were all pretty, and the aughts were all pretty stable. There was a handful of movement, but not anything like we've seen in the last, 13 or 14 years. I don't see any laws restricting that. So you want players to be loyal. You want coaches to be loyal. But the universities, they don't need to be loyal to their fan base, to their players, to their coaches, to whoever. Because tomorrow I can pick up and, go play in a league that's 2,500 miles away. Stanford and Cal. We can play in a league where we're going to send you 100% away across the country. UCLA and USC when you got to go to East Rutherford, New Jersey, or Maryland? Where's the laws for that? So just don't get involved. Sorry, we're ranting a little. We're ranting just a little bit. Oh, God. Anyway, what are you going to do? Hello, Lisa Nordway. Good to see you. Belated happy birthday if you're still watching. What else? Old Miss's new coach, Golding, Pete Golding, has got a bullseye on his back because one of the first things that he did after taking over this program was go poach some kids from Clemson. And the way they went about it was kind of skirting the rules, according to Dabo Sweeney at Clemson. I think Pete Golding's a good defensive coordinator. Spent time in Alabama. And Nick Saban's programs have obviously developed some pretty good head coaches. Say what you want about Lane Kiffin. He's a very, very good coach. And he's going to win a national championship at LSU. So get ready for it. And I mean, not this year. Don't hold me to that this year. He's going to win a national championship there. But I don't think Pete Golding is up for this job. I think Mississippi's going to take a big step back, and I think it's going to hurt Trinidad Chambliss, who returned to school. He sued to go back to school. One of those guys who sued for a 6 year of eligibility. I think he's going to fade. Going to be held back by the fact that not just Lane Kiffin, but that entire offensive staff is gone, including Charlie Weiss, and maybe most specifically Charlie Weiss Jr. So Pete Golding already with a bullseye on his back. I talked about the fact that Sorsby was not only denied reinstatement by the NCAA, but also put on the permanently ineligible list for gambling on his own games, among other games, when he was at Indiana 4 years ago. They are appealing this. Texas Tech is appealing this decision, but all signs are pointing to him applying for the NFL supplemental draft in July. He's got to do that by June 22nd. The NFL would have to approve him being available for that draft, and then somebody's got to take him and forfeit a draft pick in next year's draft. So a lot of ifs there. Steve Scarsagian said his Ole Miss basket weaving comment was a poor choice of words. If you don't know what I'm talking about, he taken some digs at Ole Miss again. Pete Golding's team kind of in the crosshairs. The requirements to get a degree at Mississippi were what he was talking about. All you have to do is take basket weaving and get an Ole Miss degree. He's kind of walked those back down, said it was a bad choice of words. Yeah, probably. But maybe not too far off the beaten path. Now, theoretically, I've been asked this a bunch of times by people, right? That in this pay for play and NIL era, are there any academic standards that the players have to uphold? Well, yes, they still have to keep a 2.0 grade average. They can't just not show up, although that's happened for decades. But again, how much is that going to be policed? Another piece of news I hadn't talked about. The SEC has decided, and this is one thing I really like the SEC is doing. At their meetings this past week, they voted to end the Cupcake November non-conference scheduling. if you remember, just before the title game, I mean, these guys would be playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. Chattanooga, these are scheduled this year. There's four games that are scheduled like this on November 20th. Chattanooga at Alabama, Sanford at Auburn, Wofford at Ole Miss, and Texas Tech at Mississippi State. The rest are conference games that week. And Greg Sankey said he thought it was going to be the end of the cupcake weekend in late November. Now, part of that is going to be because the SEC, along with the ACC and the Big 12, have mandated that all of their teams have to play at least 10 power conference games. It doesn't leave a lot of room for cupcakes. And you're going to see them playing 9 and 10 game conference schedules here pretty soon. So you've got to be able to play somebody out of conference. Otherwise, you're going to see the end of Texas, Ohio State. Right? You'll never see Oklahoma State played again, ever. Notre Dame, USC would be done. But by taking away the cupcake games, you'd be in good shape. What else? See, we're lagging a little bit here today. Bipartisan bill. Arkansas AD rips Utah and Georgia kickoff times is unacceptable. What? So Arkansas's athletic director is extremely concerned and displeased with the Razorbacks' newly released kickoff times for this season's week 2 and 3 games, announcing them as a demonstration of clear neglect for the well-being of college athletes, asking the SEC and ESPN to alter their schedule. Arkansas game on September 12th was announced at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, and its SEC opener the following Saturday at home against Georgia was set for 11 a.m. You know, you've sold your soul to TV, guys. This is what's going to happen. You know, this is why you have SE teams stretching into Mountain Time to Eastern Time. This is why you have Big Ten teams stretching from Eastern Time to Pacific Time so that they can fill the entire day with games. And there's going to be times you're going to be playing at 11 o'clock in the morning. And there's going to be times you're playing at 10 o'clock at night. So this isn't new, and you might as well get used to this stuff. You sold your soul. You were part of the selling of the conference's soul to ESPN. And ESPN is going to do what they want with your games. It's the way it works. I'm not saying it should work that way, but if you're going to sell your soul for money, well, then you got to pay the devil. Emma sounds like she's having a tough time upstairs. I might have to go bail my wife out here in a few minutes. So anyway, we talked about expansion. We talked about all the stuff going on in college football, and you know, maybe we won't be able to take our hiatus with everything that's going on here, but we'll probably go through mid-June. Maybe the week I'm going to miss a Wednesday might be the week we start our hiatus and go through early August. Well, the hiatus of the show may though coincide with trying out the MLB update in this time slot. Not sure yet. I like that couple months where I don't have anything after 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, and then I'm kind of free Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, except for an hour at 6. It's nice in the summertime, but especially when there's not that much to talk about in college sports, which we won't have after the baseball's over really until August. But then if the MLB show flies here, I got to find a new day for this show. So I'm still trying to find a home for the MLB. I love the show. We get great viewership, but most of it is after the fact. So I'm trying to find a place where we'll get more live engagement without having to tie up another night. I don't know. I might do it. And quite selfishly, I want to, there's a group I want to play golf with on Fridays, and they play about 10:30, 11 o'clock. So it's going to be impossible to get back here for the 3 o'clock, including this week. So the Major League Baseball update will be kind of on the fly this week. I'll let you guys know what I'm going to do. Might do it tomorrow at some point. I don't know. I like it on Friday because it leads into the weekend series. And we just ended some series and whatnot. We usually have a pretty good news day on a Friday. And this show really works on Wednesday, because we're kind of halfway. We're 2 days, a couple of days from football being started, although we'll probably have football played on Wednesdays more often than not this year. But we'll talk more about that as we go. But it's been a good show. I've enjoyed it. Hope you guys have as well. Please like and share the show always when you tune in. We thank our groups that'll see this later. And we'll see you Friday morning with Jack with the weekend playbook. So have a great weekend, guys. Keith Engles for TGI Sports Talk's College Sports Huddle. Bye-bye.